Hello, my name is James Harris, and I'm from El Paso, Texas. 79938 zip code, address 3764 Roger Joseph. And I've been going through these experiences for over 2 months, 3 months. No, about 2 months and a half. There's been these individuals who jump into my mother's home and property at wee hours in the morning. I've called 911 several times, and they even at one point showed up at my home and arrested me for 911 abuse or silent, which was a charge that wasn't right. They've even shot in 4 rounds in front of my mother's home. They gave me that charge because I called about 8 times, but they lasted 2 hours to show up. Now tonight, there's some individuals here that are around my home, my mother's home, and they have loaded pistols. These individuals aren't just criminals, but also possibly, of course, criminals with badges and uniform. Now, they also have their ways to paint a picture of a scenery the way they would want to, because they're intelligent individuals and they know what they do. And they've even taken me away from my home at one point, and I see how they did it so that I was away from my mother's home and she was alone. And during that time when I was away, they took me away for an EDO, try to say I was hearing things and seeing things that weren't possibly there. But I know they've been coming here for a while, jumping into the property without a warrant or permission, looking through windows with loaded pistols and rifles. They not only jump into the home, but also have weapons. And they'll be at the window or around the trailer or even underneath or on the roof. It's not only criminals that they have, that they know, but there's also these deputies of the sheriff, El Paso County Sheriff Department of the East Montana substation in El Paso, Texas. Now, the reason why I know that it has to do with government officials that are crooked is because they don't have that right to be here doing that continually. So they do it in a laughing manner, as in they'll be making noise or hitting the fence or even making a little noise on the roof for me to go outside and check, to go out there and see what's going on, and they'll back away and laugh. When I call 911, they take more than the usual time to get here. And it's happened several times on purpose, because it's them. If not, they know exactly who. Now, they've been observing this home and property, me and my mother, with a 24-hour surveillance, I believe, day and night. When they don't have no warrant to be doing that, they cannot be eavesdropping, listening through the windows, or peeping toms, as they say, looking in through the windows, because that's against the law even for a government official, El Paso police, or which I believe have to do with the El Paso County Sheriff Department. And there's a few individuals who would come by every single time I would call 911, No other deputies would be dispatched to this address, only those. At one point, they even interfered. I believe every single 911 call was directed to. When it was a dispatch, they told the dispatcher directly to them. One of them's a sergeant. These individuals, they always come straight directly to this home. No other deputies are sent. One of them is by the name of Salty. He's a sheriff deputy. Another one is a sergeant by the name of Harrison. Now, there's these old friends or so-called acquaintances. I don't consider them friends anymore because they also have something to do with them. Now, they'll deny it to the fullest, I'm sure. It's a female by the name of Laura Hamidad. It has to do with a male by the name of Raimundo Trevino. It has to do with another individual, a male, by the name of Teodoro Martinez. There's another individual, a male, by the name of Sergio. They call him Keebler on Facebook. I can't think of his last name at the moment. Now, Sergio isn't too involved, but yes, he knows somewhat of what's been going on. Now, when they took me, the El Paso County Sheriffs, they took me in a way, I believe, for their benefits, for something that they've done, that they're doing. They took me for a week. I came back. When I came back, I noticed several things altered and changed around the property and home where I live of my mother's. There's a lot of things that were altered and changed in a way that benefits them for whatever it is that they've been doing here, which I know they don't have a right to be doing. No altercations, no changing of anything. They have no right to be jumping into the yards at these hours. Now, I've reported during these times that I called 911. I called once for a suspicion of something that one of these individuals might have threw under my trailer in the front of the room where I sleep. It was a foul odor, and I didn't want to call until there was a friend of mine as a witness named Oscar Martinez. He took off because he smokes marijuana and he believed he had a warrant. I didn't tell him when I was going to call 911. He got scared and ran off, but then came back. When I called for this foul odor, I believed it was probably an animal, because these individuals, which is basically Keebler, Raimundo Trevino, and Laura Hamida, those three individuals specifically, they consider themselves witches. They pray to dark forces. They pray to evil spirits, to the satanic side. Now, I don't believe in that. They do. But I believe they started, when they would come by, they possibly might have thrown some type of sacrificed animal or something to curse me, my family, in this home. Now, when I called because of this foul odor. A fire department fireman came by when it should have been a sheriff, or the sheriff showed up later on, not too short after. I went down there while they were watching me and Oscar. I raked something. I know it was something out of there from under the trailer. It was a white piece of, which I thought like a rock, but right away saw was a bone. It was an odd shape of a bone that wasn't a regular type of animal bone. Now, when I was down there, it was a fireman from the East Montana area. I pulled out that bone or whatever it was, gave it to him, went around to the trailer to the other side. Now, when I showed up to that other side, I saw a sheriff put it back in the back of his pocket. I'm not blind. He showed me another piece of caliche rock that was on the floor. He told me it was nothing. And I know it wasn't the same piece that I raked up from under the trailer. Now, I have no idea why he would do that. I observed, and I told him it didn't look, I just told him once it didn't look like it was the same piece that I raked from under the trailer while the fireman watched me and went down there with me. Now that sheriff took that, I was thinking that they'll be back probably. He didn't say nothing of it because I saw him pick up a caliche rock, telling me that that was the piece that I gave him to the fireman. Actually, the fireman gave it to the sheriff. They both acted stupid, with a big smile as if I didn't notice. Now that was odd. And then all of a sudden me and my mother get an infestation of mice. Like we've never had before any type of problem of infestations of mice around the home. Now there's only been 3 individuals that I let in through these doors of my mother in the home where I live within the past year, because I had stopped talking to a lot of friends of mine that I used to, and sometimes we would come to my room inside the home. Now, these 3 individuals are the only ones that I've ever let inside this home by permission, with permission. And I had these holes in the wall that I was gonna cover them up. Now I believe these witches supposedly had thrown something in there at one point. They could say this is rotting of the wood or anything. Now this shouldn't be black. The insulation. There's no water leaks. And they laugh. I haven't called the sheriffs to investigate on this because I made another video on YouTube one of those nights that these individuals, they were jumping into my mother's yard. I've even heard them on the window loading with the sound of loaded magazines. I heard them on the roof before. I'll run outside and I'll look. And of course they have training and experience. They're quick. Nobody's there. I'll call 911. The sheriffs will show up. All they could tell me is that, well, we showed up and no one's here. I told them I called 20 minutes ago. At first, they would show up in the right timing manner. Later on, they started showing up at odd minutes. As in, they'll take an hour. Now, when they shot those 4 rounds, they took 2 hours. Nobody waits 2 hours on a 911 call when there's individuals in front of their home with a pistol shooting. And it's always these certain individuals that will show up. When I called another time that they were jumping in the fence, as if they do it in a laughing manner, like the night that they let me hear some loaded magazines, like if they were loading the pistols. And I look out and I see nobody. and I run out there, I'll see nobody. They hide. Now, when I called one time, they showed up. And they said, there's nobody here. We don't see nobody. They don't even ask me, what can we see, if there's any footprints or anything. As if they wanted to make me seem as if I'm crazy. As if I'm possibly seeing things or hearing things that aren't there. I told them I wouldn't be bothering you at 2, 3, 4 in the morning. Unless there's actually someone out there. Now, whether they're sheriff deputies, they don't have a warrant to be doing that. Looking in through the windows. They don't have a warrant. Well, actually, I don't even think or believe that there is any type of warrant to be looking in through windows of a home. But they don't have a warrant to be jumping into the property. And they do it as a way that they wanted to make me seem as if I'm crazy. Now I see why. Because when they made me go into that hospital to see if I was possibly having illusions or delusional or seeing or hearing things that weren't there, I came back and I noticed some things around the dirt, the gravel of my mother's home that weren't there before. Now, I don't know who it was, but they all of a sudden got these other individuals who I think know something also to do some remodeling in the home of my mother for a reason, though. Now, back to them witches, so-called friends. There was only 3 individuals, Oscar Martinez, Teodoro Martinez, and Raimundo Trevino, that came into this home. When I was fixing up these holes on the wall, I was thinking they might have even thrown something there. There was also some things thrown in the air vents that weren't normal. They were odd. Now, if I call them and I tell them, and I find a mice that's just dead, rotting, they're going to try and make it seem like as if I'm crazy. If I tell them that I think that maybe those mice were there because something else there was rotting. Now, I don't know who they are, what they want from me and my family. But they have my mother believing that they're in the right sometimes. Possibly they might have harassed her. Because I noticed when I came back from the hospital, her attitude had changed drastically. She wouldn't speak with me the same about these certain incidents. Because, like I told my mother, if I hear something out there, see something out there, and I believe they got weapons and I don't own one, neither does my mother, I'm going to call 911. I'm going to call 911, but it's for them, even if they believe that I might be lying or every time they show up that nobody's there. But they don't even ask to look, where did you see them? How many were there? Was there a vehicle? Now, the sheriffs, the deputies are supposed to ask those questions. They would never ask those questions. Now, it has to do something with them. Even if they're investigating for whatever reasons, they don't have a right to do that to me and my family and home. Now, when I was fixing these walls, this hole wasn't that big. It was a hole like a smaller hole like this one. I believe that they threw something in there. But then later on I found out that it wasn't like that they did it. It was through the outside panels. I put a YouTube video, it's still there, of one of those nights when they were making noise for me to look out. For me to look out and no one's there, but they're there. I know they're there. They hide. They have special training for that. Even get on the roof real quickly. I would hear them on top of the roof. And there's no pigeons at night that get up there on the roof. One of those YouTube videos, I noticed how it wasn't cold. It wasn't sprinkling, raining. And I stayed out there all night till the sun came up, recording to see if I could catch these individuals jumping into the yard. I noticed, and you could see clearly on the video, how on the other side of the trailer, while I was sitting down recording on the other side, there was obviously somebody there spraying the top of the roof of the trailer. Some type of liquid. Could have been doing it so that I call 911 again. And they say that it's just water or something for I could look crazy. Now I think it's some type of liquid that has some type of thing that was alive, either liquefied or grinded up. Now after it starts to decompose after some time, which it started now, they believe it starts getting into like a real small living organism that's a bacteria, like termites or maggots. I don't know if it's something they threw in within the walls, or it's like a liquid, because it's like real hard to find. There's nothing of like a bone of an animal or anything. I don't know who they are, but obviously it has to do with those deputies that I mentioned earlier, because those are the ones that were always coming here to this home. When I know there's other deputies that work on the graveyard shift. It got to the point where I will call 911 and I had to tell the dispatcher not to send those deputies, because those are the ones that always come. I didn't trust them. I still don't. No matter what they say. No matter how good of a deputy sheriff they are. Because what a coincidence that it's always them. I told the 911 dispatcher to send some other deputies, and you know what she told me? She told me that there's no other deputies working. I told her that's bullshit. There's more than 2 deputies that work night shift, graveyard shift, and the nights. And then at one point, I don't know what it is that's going on here in the insulation in between the walls. At first I thought it was these witches that threw some type of cursed, sacrificed animal. But I saw how they were possibly spraying it like a liquid too on top of the roof and the ceiling of my mother's home. You could clearly see on that YouTube video that all of the top of the roof of the trailer was... I even went and grabbed in the video I even went and brought a neighbor that was outside as a witness that someone's fucking around with my mother's home because it wasn't cold enough that night for it to build up condensation on top of the ceiling. I mean, on top of the roof. So it shouldn't have been moist at all. And it didn't sprinkle either. Because I was sitting there all night. I have a few videos where I do look kind of. One could say when you see those videos, okay, maybe possibly he's lying. But since these individuals are also have training, some are also have jobs that work with the government. They're not supposed to back away. If they're investigating, they come and ask. Question. They back away and then like in a laughing manner when they shouldn't do that. They shouldn't be spraying the top of my ceiling of my mother's home. I don't know what that liquid was, but I think they sprayed it in between some walls. Because when you open a wall, the insulation don't turn black. The bottom part of the sheetrock doesn't start rotting. Now, recently, somehow, some way, they got to my mother, persuaded her to get these individuals to put this tile. Now, where they put the tile, they put this moldura to cover up, I guess, where it rots on the bottom, because it rots on the bottom quicker. And they don't care what I say when I would call 911. I'm on a PR bond right now for 911 silence or abuse. And I told them, I know the purpose. Every time the sheriff would show up, I told them I know the purpose that they have 911 for American citizens to call if there's an emergency and one needs help. Now, when one's in the situation when you can't even call upon the sheriffs for help, now it's a little tougher. Because as they don't seem to stop. They enter this yard, this property every single night. Like right now, they were shining a red light. The windows will light up red. When I came back from the hospital, these sheriffs have their ways of pulling strings. But at one point I said, maybe they're just really trying to see if I was seeing or hearing things that weren't actually there. But nah, they should take every single, even if they don't believe the caller, even if they believe that he's having illusions or seeing or hearing things that weren't possibly there, they have to treat every single 911 call serious. I started feeling as if not only they're disrespecting me, but my family. Because I have to remember they are intelligent individuals that know what they're doing. And I believe some of them have probably done it to other families. They've been doing this for years. So this ain't the first time they've done this. I even told the sheriffs when they showed up to check this abandoned home that's in the back, right behind my mother's home. It's a white trailer. Because I seen individuals who were hired out there looking towards over here. And what did the sheriff do? Nothing. And even he smiled at me, as a matter of fact. Like if he knew. I told him I've even seen possibly a rifle at one point from one of the windows pointed this way. Now, it's real simple. The only reason why I knew someone was in there as well, because the windows that face my mother's home, they have these blinds in the back door. Not only days pass by, it could be half of the day, and I noticed that they're moved and they don't stay in the same position that they were. And when that, I told the sheriff, go check. I believe they hide there. When he took off, I waited and watched. Not one of them went and checked. Now, also around the home and the gravel, I also told one of the sheriff deputies that I noticed this different type of rock. That's not just any type of rock. It's a certain type of rock. I asked someone, a man that I know, a friend. He says it looks like a type of mining rock. It has these little shiny particles within that rock. It's like a rock that they find in the mines or something. I mean, it stands out. You could tell. Before I went to the hospital, it wasn't there. There's only two type of gravels that we have on this yard. It was a red type of gravel that my father put a long time ago. And God bless his heart and soul, S.E. Harris. And then there was another type of gravel that's gray, white, not white, it's gray. That one's only spread out right in front of the front doorstep and a little bit to where we park the cars or car. The red gravel is spread out in the driveway where you drive from the street to where we park the cars, and also in the back under the trailer. But that's only in the back, under the back room. It's a red gravel. Now that other gravel that I noticed when I got back from the hospital, it's spread out around the trailer and under. Now, there's another side where I found something that is catabolic decomposing, and they're here listening to me even right now. They persuaded me. I know they're out there. I mean, I'm not stupid. There's yeah, they could easily just shoot and make it seem the way they want to. They persuaded my mother to put these workers I didn't trust. The skirting around the trailer recently. Because I told the sheriffs they would get under the trailer too when they were jumping the fence. They put the skirting, it hasn't been there that long. I don't know what the fuck is all this. One could say that it was of a mice. No, I don't see any bone. I barely opened this hole in the sheetrock. You see, I don't know why these, if they are officials of the law, which I know they are. There's for sure two involved. I don't know why they don't, if they're investigating, they don't speak to one properly and directly. They're doing things that they're not supposed to as well. Now, there's some things down there that I still haven't gotten to clean. I barely broke this hole. I don't see any maggots, but I do see some things that aren't supposed to be down there. Hold on, let me. Put this right. And these individuals, they don't care what I say. They know what they're doing. And they're doing it for their own benefits. Now these people that put this skirting on the trailer, I didn't trust those workers. Because the person that I called told me they were gonna level the trailer. His name was Israel. Horizon City, Calhoun Drive. He told me they're gonna come over here. The right way to do it is level the trailer and then patch up the valley with insulation and then put the skirting. Now those two individuals, my mother went to the address that I gave her in Horizon. She came with these two individuals that I believe weren't from Israel. As in, someone persuaded her when she left to go somewhere else with these other two workers. When they got here, they said that they don't do the valley and the insulation. That right away told me that these two workers aren't from the one I spoke to on the phone. Now, my poor mother, I've noticed her attitude change a lot drastically. When I came back from the hospital, I believe some of these individuals, even if not harassed her, got to her and persuaded her to say certain things, to do certain things, such as to go to those workers. I think they have her scared to death. She won't admit it to me. No one. She's a senior citizen, 64. Now, I'm 34 years old and I have no psychological history of any type of mental disability. I don't know why these sheriff deputies were continuously trying to, like if they're trying to say that I have some type of problem that I see or hear things that aren't there. No, they're not doctors. They shouldn't even be trying to say that of anyone. I'm far from anything that they wanted to label me as. I don't know what the heck is down here. Now, if I call them right now and they tell me that it's just a rotting mice, a mice infestation, what is it that what is it that they're gonna do like every single time, like when I call them? It's something small. They're suspicious, trying to make me look out like a crazy. The reason why I'm putting this video live, because right now they're outside my home and I saw those red lights, and I know those are I believe they're of weapons. And right now through the windows they have, watch, pause it. Anywhere I go in this trailer, they'll shoot one through the window. I'm sure right now they're watching. They're hearing. I'm not stupid. Now one shouldn't ever feel like that in his home. One shouldn't ever be like that in his home. Let me get this camera right there. Now these two individuals that I believe, because Oscar Martinez, he does not consider himself a witch and doesn't pray to no evil spirit, and I don't see him throwing these things when I let him into the walls or under my home. Now Raymond and Teodoro Martinez, I believe, have something to do with it, because they all of a sudden started acting strange with me, as if they don't come around. I could tell by the way they act. Now the bad thing is that my mother will deny if anybody has harassed her or told her to do something, like go with those two workers that put the skirting on the trailer. And they didn't want to put the baddie in the insulation. They just wanted to level it and put the skirting. When the one I spoke to and the one I sent my mother to told me specifically that he was gonna do that. And there's another thing that he told me, that he works through contracts. That you pay him up front. The contract is made. And then they go to the home and do the job in one day. And then he told me if they're gonna do the insulation in the belly, that they're gonna last another day. Now when these two individuals were here, because I didn't go speak to Israel myself, I just spoke to him on the phone. These two individuals that were supposedly workers of Israel, they told me they don't do the belly. They also told me that they don't do contracts. I told them, Israel told me that you do the contract, you pay them up front, and then they go and do the job. That's why I know that those two workers that leveled the trailer and put the skirting were not of Israel. Now my poor mother, she's old. She's a senior citizen, may God bless her heart and soul. These individuals, I think they're closer to, they come by, they're closer to, they have something to do. Now recently, they put this tile, my mother, when I came back from the hospital. Again, I believe it was the sheriff was trying to see if I wasn't seeing or hearing things that weren't there, when they're in the wrong for trying to do that to me and say that of me when I know something is strange. Now this tile that they put the molduras, which is this, and I think that had a lot to do with it, because that's where it rots first, from the bottom. That way it could last long. No, I don't know what the fuck is all this. And they know exactly what they're doing. Because they're not only literally trying to make, also at one point I believe, they could easily try and make my mother and I try and say that as if we're crazy. But we're far from it. Never had any psychological problems at all. Now, the only reason I look crazy is because every single time I call, like one of these nights that I called of these individuals jumping into the yard and being here spying through the windows, making noise, even at one point shot in front of my home. One of them, Salty, told me, just go back inside and go to sleep. If you hear anything, if you hear anything outside or under the trailer, you just ignore it and go back to sleep. Now, no officer, no peace officer, no sheriff or police should ever tell that to a person. Why would he tell me? Go inside. Just go back to sleep. If you hear something again, just ignore it. Nobody should say that. No officer should be telling no person that's telling them that he's hearing things in the outside of his home and knowing that there's these individuals who are jumping the fence late at night. Now it's not only late at night, but it's also not only late at night, it's also in the day, as if they have a 24-hour surveillance. Now, investigation, they don't do it properly because there's none. I don't have no enemies. Oh, let me see how far. And they're right here waiting. What the fuck is this? Huh? A person in a straight jacket. That's what they want. That way they could cover their fucking asses. That's the not to cry, not to fear, man. And you leave that last one. Yeah, you fear, you fucking satanic. That's just a negative telling you. That ass. I know it's the other way around. You just have to throw it in. Remember, it's unstoppable, and it's a fucking stronger force than you can see or imagine in your mind. And they're helping me think what I'm fucking. And they can't be fucking pissed.
Very curious. You fucking kind of stupid. What is this? You fucking drop it. You drop that. Which then you got to do. Oh, that's just emotional love. Your loved ones in misery. And just stay crying like a big ass cry. Stop crying. What the fuck do I do? Run outside. How they do outside? Been calling car. They're not off. I hope they cannot all be. Is it really?